Welcome to the stream. I'm Riley Harvey for VCN, and this is the Thursday night PRT handicap race. You can see the riders down on the start line there, all getting ready to ride, and hopefully they've all remembered to adjust their weight before they've entered the pen. It's a handicap ride. For those who aren't aware of that, what basically happens is the riders who have got the higher FTPs increase their weight, the riders who have the lower FTPs decrease their weight to make the whole of the race a more even playing field and to make it more competitive. The riders who are less athletic, if we can say that, obviously they have a lower weight and they can compete more easily, more readily with the riders who are riding more frequently, have higher FTPs, potentially have more time to train, or as its precision race team. Some of these guys are competing in triathlons, very fit athletes, and are doing this regularly and put a lot of time into their training schedules to make sure they're as fit as they possibly can be. The way that you work out your FTP is to bring it down to an average of around about 3.2 watts per kilogram. So you take your FTP, your recent FTP that you've done one fairly recently, divided by 3.2, and that will give you your weight that you enter for the game. It's important that you do this before you enter the pen, otherwise you have to come back out, change your weight, go back in again. You can't change it once you've entered the race. It's something that needs to be done prior to that. What it does do for these races is it makes them incredibly watchable, incredibly enjoyable. There's lots of battles that go on throughout the whole of the race. You do get the guys firing off the front as per usual with almost any virtual racing event. They go off at full sprint as fast as they can, and you do have to grab onto their shirt tails, get into that draft in order to keep yourself in competition. But yeah, all the way through the pack you see little battles starting to happen, and you see groups that are grabbing together, trying to make it through to the end of the race. In order to make the handicap work more effectively, you tend to have hills. On races where it's completely flat, weight doesn't have a great deal of an effect on the outcome. You need to have the hills in there to change that. So unfortunately, for those who don't like hills, you do tend to get those in the handicap races because it's the watts per kilogram that affect it for you, and having those hills in really makes it even up. The guys with the bigger power, when it's on the flatter level, they can just carry on going. They've got the bigger watts, and the weight isn't really as much of a disadvantage. So we'll head over to the start line now, and we'll have a look at some of the races that are in, see who's there, and see which names are jumping out. So we've got 3 minutes and 40 till the start of this race. I can see Wayne there. Wayne is known as the Wayne Train. He gets off to a flying start at the beginning of all these races. Phenomenal amount of power at the beginning. Tries to put everyone in a world of pain, and tries to secure himself an early spot at the front of the race. See there, we've got Muzzer, got Barry Wilson, Shrek, who I'm hoping that's a nickname. 73 riders online. There is generally, in the PRT races, there are a few of the bots that are put in there. So Will tries to make this race as inclusive as possible. It's a race run by Will Usher of PRT, he's the head coach there. And the idea is to try and get everyone out there having fun. You can get the elite athletes out there, and they'll enjoy and get just as much of a workout out of this event as the non-elite athletes, because they're all working to this weight handicap. It benefits those riders who don't ride as frequently, so they get to enjoy the race, and it penalises those guys who ride frequently. But there are bots put in there as well. There are several riders who just ride this race to be part of the event and to have some fun. It's often not any fun ride on your own. So Will puts a few bots in there to take care of the people who may be nearer towards the back of the race, give them something to draft off, and give them some competition to be in there as well if they're not catching on to the front pack, which is brilliant. And that's what the racing's all about. It's all about getting out there, enjoying yourself, having some fun. There is a Discord group for the PRT. If you like listening to people pant, scream, and a little bit of swearing, then it is a good group for you to join. But it's advertised as a group to go on to make or break alliances. The idea being that, you know, you're on the course, you see someone up ahead of you, and you're like, well, you know, why don't you slow down? We'll work together, get to the end of the race. And then as you get to the last 5 kilometers, you know, you start looking at each other, and then maybe you start thinking, oh, okay, who's going to go now? Who's going to put the legs on the line, go for this last ditch attempt to get the win? We've got 50 seconds to the start line now. I took a look at the course profile. This is done on a Magic Road, this course. A lot of these courses are run from Will's local area. We had a chat earlier on in the week. We did a little bit of an interview, and Will went through his inspiration, shall we say, for creating some of these courses. And basically everywhere that he goes, he looks out, thinks to himself, you know, that could be a really good part for a course. That's a good section. We're on a ridiculously steep hill. This will make for a good section of a climb. And he pieces these parts together, because Magic Roads and the way that these courses are put together, that really allows you to be inspirational. Take some inspiration from all of your surroundings around the world. And we see there Wayne off to that flying start as predicted, going up into this first hill. And this is quite an up and down course. There are about, I think it's 6 significant climbs on this course, with one final awful climb towards the end. So I think for a lot of riders, this is going to turn into sort of like a kind of a hit session. You're going to be finding yourself having a high intensity workout going up these hills, and then a short break as you come down the other side and recover before you hit another hill and go again. So we'll be seeing some of these guys will be seeing some very spiky heart rates. We see Rob Melouche there just getting in with the bot group, and we see there's a little break there up to number 44 JT. Got P. Borman there, Chisnell, Runa, and then we see a rider there, Tom Smith, just making a little break, trying to get up to the next rider on the road there. Carl Winrow. We see a group of 3 just in front of Carl there. Mulek, Bev Usher, and Ian Hurst there. Tom just easing off the power a little bit. I think he feels like he's got this group caught. Certainly looks like he's going to catch up with Carl Winrow there. Jump forward a few and we'll see how we're getting on there. Mulek pushing on a little bit from the Usher and Hurst group there. A little bit further down the road, we've got Oral. Not sure how to pronounce that name. Suspect it's not his real name. Before he jumps to the group there with Jackson, Barry Wilson, Esther Fish, Sean, Felipe Mora, Gallagher, Billard, Bieber, Maya. See Esther Fish there, he's still just creeping up this group. See Bartle, Trek there, Harrison. And we've got Will in 16th position, a little group there. Marty, Nylan, Murray, Chris Little. Jump up to Ferrara in 8th position there. Darren Ray in 10th. Team Lou. I see Wayne, initial power on the start there. Just struggles somewhat with the hills, Wayne. But struggles with them less than I do, I must admit. Now we've got our REAC. I wonder if that's Richard Akers from the REAC coaching. Will Deegan. Yo-Yo Oxuzoglu there. Ben Lowe, the last time I covered this race, he had a fantastic race and just lost out, missed a break in a group and lost out towards the end, but he was riding phenomenally well. We'll have to see how he goes here. He's with a good group here, Van Spittel, Gordia and Burez. Unfortunately, there does appear to be some of the riders who don't always get to grips with the handicap principle. Not sure whether that's, we have a lot of different nationalities riding, not sure whether that's because they're not quite understanding how or what the ride description is, or whether they're willfully misunderstanding it to give themselves an advantage. The race is based around the combativity award, so everyone is encouraged to vote at the end of the race for the rider that they think has been the most combative, who has contributed the most to the race, whether it's making a massive break from the group that they were in, whether they've sacrificed themselves for one of the teammates and have towed one of their teammates back, whether it's winning the race in fantastic fashion by dropping everybody, but it isn't generally. Obviously there is a podium, but you know, that's not the sole purpose of this race. It is, as I say, the combativity award, and you do see we're looking at Gordia here pushing out 5 watts per kilogram. You know, we're weight limited. You shouldn't really be able to push out a massive amount more than 3.2 watts per kilogram for sustained periods. So some of the riders do find that frustrating, but as long as you concentrate on this fact that you're working for the combativity award. Ben Lowe, frequent rider in this race. Will Deegan there just behind him, and I'm gonna guess that as our REAC there's going to be Richard. Jumping into one of these races, using his company name for a little bit of promotion there. REAC offer a lot of the coaching plans. If you're on the premium subscription for RGT, a lot of the coaching plans there are designed by REAC Coaching. So if you haven't checked out that section of the program yet, you know, maybe made that jump to the subscription, then it's worth having a look at. There's quite a few little training plans there. And for those who are into some more serious coaching, Will was mentioning the other day that he has had a couple of coaching spots opened up. So if you get in touch with Will at the PRT team, I'm sure they'll be interested in taking you on and furthering your athletic ambitions, getting you to be every bit of the athlete that you possibly could be. That's enough for the sales pitch. Let's carry on with the racing. We've got looking like there's 4 riders at the front here who are sort of working together on these climbs so far, just coming into a very steep section here, hitting 10%. Using the Europe in springtime skin for this race. We have cobblestones, we have nice green scenery, and we also have rain, unfortunately, but that's much like Europe is. Back there, Super is in 4th position. Deegan closing the gap here to these leaders. David Brookhausen there, Nyland, Richard in this group before we drop back again to Numea. Oxuzoglu was one of the riders last time I covered this race who was a little bit suspicious, that's perhaps not correct terminology. Looked a little bit like he'd forgotten to change his weight. After the race is completed, Will does go through the riders' power performances and has a look, and we do have a disqualification process. So You are allowed a little bit of leeway from that 3.2 watts per kilogram, depending on the course. You know, it can be up to an average of around about 3.8. Obviously, everyone's FTPs might not be 100% up to date, and techniques yield different performances. And certain people, I know certain courses suit my weight and physique better than other courses do. So it's I can push out above what would be my limit on some of the courses that we ride. So you do have a little bit of leeway on it, but it is reviewed, and a sanitized version of the results is put out on Facebook with usually a fantastic race report written by Will later on the day of the race. So we've got Oxazoglu, Riak, Deegan there, a little group. They seem to have broken away from Ferrara. We'll drop further back down in the course now. Ferrara there, Numeya, Marty. Obviously the hills do create a massive effect on these courses, but it's worth noting as well, whenever you see a rider with his power going into the red, it's because they're being auto braked onto a corner, and that can affect the racing as well. If you do a well-timed brake out of a corner while your close following riders being auto braked, then you can jump off and open a gap upon them. And if you open a gap of around about 10-15 meters, it massively reduces the draft saving that they have. So they have to put out a big burst of power to get back to your wheel. And those repeated efforts coming out of the corners, if you time them right, they can really affect the race outcome. So it's not all based upon the hills, the elevation. It can be based upon the more technical aspects of using and timing your sprints coming out of these corners. I mentioned the draft there. RGT is based on the server. So unlike a lot of the other platforms that are out there that base the drafting advantage that you have on an algorithm that they work to, which effectively guesses how much of a draft you should be benefiting from. RGT knows exactly where each rider is on the course and can therefore give them an accurate drafting advantage based upon their position in relation to those riders. So if we drop back to Voodoo there, you can see that Voodoo is saving currently around about 60 watts just on the back of the wheel of 3100 there. And Mackie will also now be saving a little bit, but drafting advantage does reduce on RGT as soon as you start going up a hill. So, that's something else to bear in mind when you're making your attacks and trying to figure out where to brake. You see there, Bieber just coming up to this group, and Will Usher just behind him there. I know Will Usher was out with a cold a couple of weeks ago, and then he's been spending some time socializing, not riding, but it's good to see him back on the course, back racing, and it's great to see the amount of time and effort that he puts into creating these courses for us and puts into promoting them, not only on the RGT Facebook groups but also on different groups. There is a WhatsApp group, an RGT Pioneers WhatsApp group, which you can join. I'm not entirely sure where you join that from, if I'm being honest, off the top of my head. Will was also mentioning when we had a chat earlier on this week that they now run a rewards process, rewards club through their continued 20 plus years involvement in the industry. They've built up a lot of links with different suppliers, and they're now able to pass those links on to users. So they run a club through the PRT called Precision Rewards. If you go to the Precision Race Team website, you'll be able to find the Precision Rewards through there, and it gives you access to discounts with suppliers like Torque, Specialized, Wahoo. One that I am involved with is a U-Perform, which is a collagen supplement. I've been taking that for a couple of months now, and actually it's one of the few supplements that I've taken where I can visibly see changes in my skin quality and my nail. Yeah, again, going on to the sales pitch, stop boring you with that and go back to the racing. Murray and Numa here just having a little battle there, and we drop back, got Billard with Will Usher there. Will's not fighting at the pointy end of this race as he normally would be. He'd normally be up and around about the top 10. Clinging on for dear life until the last few hundred meters, where he will blast out a sprint and put a phenomenal amount of power down and usually drop a lot of the riders. And we drop back there, we've got Bartle just behind, and a moment ago we saw Will Usher's avatar turn his head, and he just saw it again there. Will turn his head there using the look behind feature to see the group catching. They're being caught by a big group now, so there'll be a big draft saving for these riders as Wayne makes a move there up on the outside. The big group here of around about 15 riders. Murray Wilson up back there. Barry's grandson often rides these races. The benefit of the, well, actually, I'd say the benefit of the weight doping, the handicap, is that his grandson can race with a lot of older men. But actually, his grandson has to put on a massive amount of weight to compete. He's only a slight chap, and he's got a phenomenal FTP for his age. Yeah, so he does often compete, and it's good that with virtual cycling, people from all over the country can compete together. Yeah, Murray's just dangling off the front now. Will trying to bring this group back up to the group of Murray and Newmayer there. That's a big group here, just entering into some more severe slopes again. See the profile graph across the bottom there. The green is generally sort of closer to zero. The blue descending, and as you go into the deeper shades of red, that is where the real severe gradients are happening. Easing off slightly as it comes to the top of this climb. That's Tony Birch there. And just dropping back a group here. Darren Ray just dropping out of this group. I'm struggling a little bit there with these hills. Gallagher, Moore there. Now you do find with these races that some of the riders are less experienced about changing their weight within the app. What occasionally happens is that they go into the ride with a good FTP, you know, they're having a good season, and they put on the virtual weight for this event, but when they're hitting the climbs, they're not quite used to them being as difficult as they are and taking as long as they do, so they can put in a little bit too much effort, expecting to get over these climbs quicker than they will with their new revised weight. And you can find that occasionally some of these riders will blow up on these climbs. And drop back to Runa here, and then back to Ian Hurst wearing the Team 3R kit there. Shrek dropped back into 37th position again. Shrek, usually one of the riders up nearer the front, nearer the pointy end of things. Drop back. I've got Bev Usher here, who's actually Will's dad, with a group of bots, 42nd position. Bev, one of the older riders who takes part. He puts in a phenomenal amount of effort every week, completes the rides every week. He's just started taking part in the Lose team rides, which take part on Saturdays and Sundays at 3 o'clock UK time, which are a group ride with a difference. The Lou team rides are they are group rides, but they are also races. Unofficially, there's a no drop policy. Lou, fantastic man. He always makes the effort and takes the time to drop back and ride with the slower riders at the back of the group to make sure that they've got someone to ride with. But there is also a speed group in the ride. So if you're interested in doing a ride on the Saturdays and Sundays, perhaps not into having a race, check out the Lou team rides. 3 o'clock, you can set off at a pace that suits you, really hammer it, test yourself, test your mettle. The rides usually take around about 45 minutes to an hour to complete, depending on your speed. And the good thing is, if you do find that you burn out earlier on than you expected, you can drop back to the next group on the road, and you can find that you've got a lot of riders there to ride with, and you can do that. Ride with the next group till you burn out, drop back again, ride with the next group and drop back again, and it's enjoyable. There's quite a lot of chat goes on in those rides as well. Not like the PRT rides when everyone's too busy sweating and crying to on the keyboards. Drop back to Tom Smith here, back in 44th position. Another group of bots there keeping him company. Putting in some effort on this climb, dropping a few of the bots. Wondering whether he'll be able to make it back up to Bev's wheel. Just see Bev up in the distance there. He's not quite crested this climb. Again, a little bit of information that you've got power bars underneath each of the riders' names. And these are the zones that the riders are riding in. And they are based upon the riders' FTP entered within the game. Blue, pale blue, dark blue, green, amber, dark red, and then violent red, going through the power zones. And the depth with which you're riding. All the way back here, we've got Rob Mellowish back in 62nd position here. Back with the back of the box. We've got anyone else further back? That must be the last of the real riders there. We've Carl Winrow back in 76th, and we've got a group there just behind him as well. We've got Chisnell, 77th position, and Booman. Those riders went off. I remember Booman being up near the front there. Perhaps he went a little bit too deep on one of these earlier climbs and just having to recuperate all his way through the race. I'll head back up to the front to see Van Spittel and Gordia there, first and second place. Battling it out. See Gordia there saving 70 plus watts on the wheel. Sorry, Van Spittel saving 70 plus watts on the wheel of Gordia there. And drop back to Nylon as we just come through the halfway banner there. Nylon stuck a little bit in no man's land here. Unless he's going to put in a phenomenal amount of effort, I don't think he's going to catch up with Gordia and Van Spittel, who I think are actually looking like they might be running the risk of being disqualified here at 0.97.5 watts per kilogram here on this climb. And we drop further back, got Burez and Marty. Just being caught by Ferrari there. A group of 3. I think the true winner may be coming from this group here. Drop back, we've got Will Deegan, Richard, David Bruchhausen and Ben Lowe. All relatively tight, these first few groups. One of the other problems with virtual cycling is that you do find if Discord isn't being used extensively, groups like this one may never catch the group just in front of them because they're all riding as individual cyclists. When you're on the road and you can turn to the side and speak to the rider that you're with and maybe come to some agreement that you'll work together until the 5 kilometer marker, then you can find little groups like this because of the ability to roll through the drafting advantage. They will catch smaller groups up in front, but very often you find that they're not in communication with each other and the riding is individuals, so they're not actually benefiting any from the draft. So they're in the same position as the riders that are 100, 200 meters in front of them. Richard there, Richard making a jump, a bit of a jump there, trying to get onto the wheel of 100 VSK and getting up to that group in front. Richard again putting in a little bit of effort there to make that jump to that little group in front. The Ben Lowe, Bruchhausen group potentially a little bit slow to respond here. Oxuzoglu dropped off the back there. Flying through the trees here, we'll try and bring the camera a little bit lower. So Richard's made the jump there. You can see the group behind, Will Deegan, David Bruchhausen and Ben Lowe, all putting in the effort now to capture back to that group. They don't want to lose Richard, they don't want to lose that group in front. Just dropping out the back of that group there. 3100 V-Sky. Back into a little power climb here. Not too aggressive this one, only going up to around about 8%. V-Sky suffering on that one though, and it's opened a big gap up to, V-Sky has opened a big gap up, 20 meters, 30 meters now. Ben struggling just as we come to the crest of this climb. He's losing the draft there. He needs to get back into this group before they crest it. There's a short descent and he's not back in that group before they hit that descent. It will open up a big gap for him. Most of these riders are very active across all of the events in the RGT world. You'll come across their names. Keep an eye out for them. You'll know their strengths and weaknesses, and you'll be able to beat them in any of the races that you come up against them in. Will Deegan there, dropping off the back a little bit, putting a little bit of effort in over the crest of this climb to try and get back into this group. Phenomenally difficult to catch a group on a descent, especially a bigger group where they're naturally rolling through and benefiting from the draft advantage of each other. Even if they're not putting the effort in to do that, that's something that happens. You slingshot the rider in front of you, roll through, and straight away that rider's in your draft and they do the same thing to you. They slingshot through and pull you through as well. V-Sky there coming through, fantastic effort on that downhill into the beginnings of this slope, straight past Ben Lowe and Will Deegan and back into the group. And just drop back a little bit there. Oxuzoglu back in 12th position. He's got 450 meters to the group in front and 330 meters behind him to the next group behind. Definitely in no man's land. He's going to be solo TTing this, I think, until the end of this race. Drop back, we've got the little group of Voodler, Mackie and Bieber here. Just cruising down the descent. And watch them into this next climb, see if any of the riders makes an attack. Their only rider to bridge up to is Oxuzoglu, who's 220 meters up in front of them, so I think it would be slightly foolish to try and make an attack at this point unless you're feeling particularly strong. Vula dropping the other two riders there. Bieber, not happy to see him go. He's gone into his red power. And he's closing that gap to Vula. Mackie looking like he wants to do the same. Not entirely sure he can make it though. Mackie up at 4 watts per kilogram there. He's not closing the gap just yet, but he's not letting them get away either. 8.5 degrees on the slope. Nice and aggressive, these slopes, just how we like them. Painful for the legs. I can only imagine the lactic building up for these riders now after these repeated efforts going up these climbs. And just going over there, just over the crest. Did pass on the road there. I don't know if anyone noticed that there's riders' names get written on the road. It's a feature that RGT does automatically. It picks out randomly riders' names and chalks them on the road for you. Makes you feel like you're just in a real classics race. Your supporters have been out on the sidelines, in the tents all night, waiting to watch you do these climbs. I see Gazino there, just catching up to this group as well. And he's brought with him Jackson. It looks like the group behind is fragmented slightly, the Usher group. But Esther Fish there, 18th position. Also closing in on this group. As Voodler and Jackson take to the front there. That's the Fish. Going there in 19th position. He's opening his legs up as we go into this flatter section. These hills putting everybody in pain. Murray brings up Usher. And carries on at the front of this group, pushing on a little bit. And Wayne thought about it briefly, but he's eased off as Usher goes in front of him. And Murray's just distancing them both. Billard there. Again, we see Will using the look behind feature there. Barry Wilson catching back up to the group, bringing Chris Little with him. And that group's reformed, reforming. Jones back in 25th position. Umea 26th, Bartle back in 27th position, Bruna 28th, and with a grouping here, Harrison, Gallagher, Priest, Moura, Darren Ray there, brought it back somewhat, Ian Hurst, 34th position, JT just behind him, Fox behind them with Shrek back in 39th position, Tom Smith 45th, back up to the front of this race. Jay Van Spittel there, Gaudier. Just entering into this phenomenal final climb. After you've had your legs broken by this front section of repeated hill efforts, and you come into this final behemoth. See, we're hitting 10% gradients here with breaks in between. The gradient drops off, but this is going to be a phenomenal last climb for all the riders. Well, there is a little sneaky one towards the end as well, but this will be the one that people are looking at and are going to start be worrying about now. Van Spittel and Gaudier here. Well, they seem to be pushing the upper limits of the FTP requirements, in my opinion, so I'm sure they'll be taken to the doping tent afterwards and have their weights checked. 100 feet ski here, who momentarily, I think he must have had a power drop or something happen previously, because he was dropping off this group and I thought he was in trouble, but he seems to have come back very strong here. See, he's going into the bright red area of his FTP scoring there, so he's well above his FTP putting in these efforts. Back Nylon. We've got Ferrara and Riak. Just behind them we've got Burez, who's putting in an effort there to try and close the gap on these riders, putting 6 watts per kilogram. So just dropped back now. Burez got David Brookhausen there, and behind him he's just distance Ben Lowe there. Nevertheless, Ben having another fantastic race, and you can see that front group that we had before, Brookhausen, Lowe, Deegan's blown apart now on this climb. Deegan out at 70 meters. Right. Last year, Will Deegan was challenging for every one of the win on every one of these races. Come into the winter season, not quite the same fitness as he had last year, perhaps. Hopefully he'll pick it up, get back on it. Casino there, 11th position, with Oxuzoglu closing in on them. Then we've got a big gap back to Mackie, 80 metres clear. Bieber, Jackson, Voodler, all trying to get back to his wheel there. These were a group together. Voodler just dropping off that group. Jackson pushing on. Voodler just soft pedaling here. And this could be the end of his race. This hill could have just proved a little bit too much for him to go back to the fish. Wayne looking good there, pulling some good power, catching him up to the fish, passing him, closing in on Voodler. Will Usher. Race Radio's just told me that Will has had a little bit of technical issues this evening, so that's why he's back in 20th position and not up near the front as we were discussing earlier on. Chris Little in 21st position there. Billard, Barry Wilson there. Barry having a great race here. Barry's been taking part in these races since they're, well, I think pretty much since they were started, and he's had some fantastic gains all the way through the season and spends most of his summers out on his tandem, enjoying the countryside and having leisurely rides. Well, I'm not sure you can have a leisurely ride on a tandem. They do tend to be made of some quite heavy materials. Spends his winters out on RGT, keeping us company and doing some fantastic racing. Billard, Jones, Humer, Bartle, Darren Ray there, just struggling a little bit as we're coming into these inclines. 13.5% there. That is no easy climb there. Gallagher on his wheel, and another group there of Harrison and Felipe Mora. Reese back in 32nd, Ian Hurst in 33rd, and JT in 34th. Track coming in at 38th position there. And we've got Bev Usher back in 49th. I'm just going to zoom back up to these front riders because they're on the descent now. Jay Van Spittle, Gaudier there, hitting speeds of 51 kilometers per hour on this descent. But neither of them putting a fantastic amount of effort in here. Gradient minus 6.4. So a little note about the fact that these are made on the RGT feature called Magic Roads. So any road in the world, anywhere, you can create for yourself in RGT. It can take a little bit of work depending on how much information is present on the road when you import it. Sometimes, you know, these roads, the roads less trod have got less reliable information, and they can create roads that are not really representative of the roads in real life. But anywhere that you ride frequently, you can guarantee there'll be a pretty good copy of that in Strava that you can import into RGT. Great feature if you're going to go anywhere, you want to practice your race strategy. You can do that on RGT. You can use it to actually practice racing on the road using your total race strategy and giving yourself the best chance of competing on that course to your fullest. 3 100V ski there, just coming flying past these two riders. Already unsure of Gaudier and Van Spittle here, of whether they're going to make the break with regards to their weight for the handicap. I think it's clear that having come past Beasky there. He's going to be out with the handicap as well. Nevertheless, we are coming up to the 1 kilometre marker line. Now we're going to have a race between these riders. Beasky, Gordier, Spittel. 1 kilometre to go. One little nasty kicker in between them and the finish line, and respite. Back onto the cobbles, which are just for your enjoyment, for a little bit of a breakup in the course design. There are, of course, courses within RGT that have different terrains. You've got Dirty Reaver, which uses gravel. When you're on the gravel sections within Dirty Reaver, your speed is actually slowed. It is reduced to that of being on a true gravel course. And then when you're back onto the tarmac sections within that course, your friction's reduced, and you do have the normal speeds that you'd experience on tarmac roads. Just seeing now Gordier, Van Spittel, as soon as we're in this climb now, they're breaking free of Beasky. Beasky putting in 4 watts per kilogram here, trying to keep up with them. It'll be interesting here to see who puts in the dig towards the top of this climb. So I'm pretty sure whoever goes over this climb first will be the winner of this race. It's incredibly hard to close a gap on the descent. See Van Spittel here opening up a sprint. He's going for it. 6.2 watts per kilogram, 7.4 watts per kilogram. Gordier responding with 12.5 watt per kilogram sprint there as they're coming up to the crest of this climb. Gordier going through. He's managing to hold his sprint a little bit longer. Van Spittel broken. Van Spittel coming back, 5 watts per kilogram. They're into the descent now. Neither of them managed to make that break going over the top, so they are coming down together. Side by side, who's going to open up the sprint first? They've already sprinted once. Who's got the most in the legs? Van Spittel starts. He's opening up. Gordier is not responding at all. He knows he's beaten. Beasky coming through there in 3rd position. Now we're going back down the course now. We've got Ferrari and Perez there. And behind them we've got Richard. Spin it round. See the crest of this climb coming up in the distance. Jump back to Richard. Akers there. I wonder if he's going to make any attempt to catch up to these 2 riders up in front. His power's going red there. Perez pushing 4.2 watts per kilogram going into this climb. Nyling coming out of nowhere there to catch up to Riak. The next rider on the road is David Bruckhausen, who is 218 metres back, so I don't think we're going to see an appearance from him. But Nyling's putting everything on the line here to catch up to the 2 riders in front of him, Ferrara and Perez. Going to the top there. Perez is crested before Ferrara. He's carrying on with the power there. Ferrara's eased. Perez still powering away now onto the descent. 60 kilometers per hour. Rolling into the finish line. Perez in 4th. Ferrara coming through in 5th. Nyland coming into 6th position. Richard Akers just coming over the crest of that hill now. Richard Akers is going to take 7th there comfortably. David Bruckhausen powering away now. He has got on his tail Gazzino. Gazzino cresting. Is he going to be able to apply the power? Keep it pressure on. David coming round that corner. He's putting more power into it. He sees the risk. Gazzino there coming round. He's kept the power on and he's kept a clear gap. 130-meter gap there with the benefit of the descent. Coming into 8th position. Zeno, Team FRC there in 9th. Ben Lowe chasing hard. Wins himself 10th position there. Deegan just cresting the climb. Oxuzoglu 12th position there, closing hard. See Deegan just maintaining the gap into the descent. Almost impossible for Oxuzoglu to close there. Deegan coming through with a gap of 150 meters there. Jump back to Oxuzoglu. Mackie coming up the climb as Oxuzoglu is completing it. So Oxuzoglu there coming through in 12th position. Jackson putting on the power there. See Mackie in the distance. I doubt that he's going to be able to close that gap before we get to the crest, that small plateau, and then into the descent. It's looking like we're going to have Mackie coming through in 13th position. Jackson putting everything into it now. Mackie goes down onto that descent. Jackson coming through in 14th position here. See the finish line. Nobody heroically sprinting for the finish line tonight. I think everybody has had the stuffing knocked out of their legs with these repeated small ascents. Group of riders here as Will Usher is putting it in on this climb. He knows he's got to get a gap as we come to the crest here. Oh, Wayne's going for it. Wayne, 15th position, pushing hard. Murray putting in the power now. Murray comes through. As Murray timed it better than the rest of the riders. Murray comes through. He's opening a gap. Murray has got 16, 17 meters. Voodler, he's still putting on the power. Murray's coming through. Wayne, Will Usher putting in his last minute sprint. Will breaks the group. Murray first, then Will, Voodler, and Wayne following on. Fish coming through in 19th position. Great riding from him. Bieber back in 20th. Let me see a little battle here now between C. Little and Barry Wilson. I think it's Chris Little here, but not everyone puts on the first name, so forgive me if I've been calling you Chris all race and it's actually not. 21st, 22nd position here. See Barry and Chris there. Oh, Chris putting in Herculean effort there to just open a gap up on Barry, but Barry's coming back. A pair of them are tight coming around this corner. Barry's taking the lead. Chris putting a little bit of power there. Nice, it's going to come down to a sprint between the two of them. Chris Little taking the lead. Barry tucking in behind him. As Chris opens up his sprint early. Barry just holding on. Barry's going. Barry timed a little bit too late there. Tried to make the most of the draft, but just was a few seconds too late in opening up his sprint. That's one of the interesting things about RGT. Well, another one of the interesting things about RGT is the way that sprinting works. Coming that close to the line, if you just sit in behind the rider and time it perfectly, you can just fly by them. You're saving 200-300 watts in their draft. You do have to be in contact with the rider. Jones there just let the gap open up a little bit too much. The Bartle there. Bartle's going to take the win off him. Jones coming through in 25th. Numair through in 26th. Runa back now in 27th, Portuguese rider. RGT Portugal on the Facebook groups now. See a little battle here between Felipe Moura and Darren Ray. Darren coming into the draft, Felipe Moura and slingshots him just to take the win on the line there. Darren coming through in 28th position. We've got Harrison and Gallagher here, 31st, coming through onto the descent together. Nothing separating them. There's Gallagher, puts in the power on the top of the descent there. Harrison slipping into his slipstream. Harrison opening up his sprint. He's gone a little bit too early there. He's eased off. Gallagher. Oh, there's two to climb. Oh, Harrison just coming through at the last second. He put the power down at the last moment. Gallagher didn't respond. First coming through in 32nd position. He's clear of the nearest rider, Priest, by 90 metres. Priest just rolling it home, 33rd. And back 34th position on the climb is JT. JT, no doubt enjoying every last metre of this 11.9% gradient. After punishing his legs all the way through the rest of this ride, he gets to enjoy this before he even sees the finish line. He's still putting in the effort. That 34th position, he's still putting down the power coming up to this corner. And that last little bit of glorious descent to the finish line. Around that bend and relax. See the start finish line in the distance. Some bots in between. Bev Usher, 38th position. Chased by some bots now. Bev, you've got to get the power down, make sure those bots don't catch you. Rosie and Norberto are ruthless. And we're just enjoying a little bit of foliage there. We're in a close view of the leaves of RGT. We'll just mention that these streams are put on with the help of our supporters, Paleo Valley. We have made a deal with Paleo Valley where they'll offer a 15% discount to anyone using the code cycling15 when they're purchasing at their website. They're great products, paleo products made with conscientiousness. One of their taglines is to eat consciously. Yeah, they're good products made with great ingredients and not made cheaply, if that makes sense. See Bev coming through that. I think Bev is the final of our live riders. We did have Shrek. Oh no, sorry, we've got Tom Smith further down the course. And we see Tom. Don't forget, guys, as I said, this is about the Combativity Award. If you've seen somebody that's put in a performance that you're impressed by, then head over to the Facebook page. It's RGT Users on Facebook, and you can make a post there. There'll be a post about the race, and add in your ideas of who was the most combative rider. See whether they agree with Will. As we get further along with this race series, hopefully we'll be able to get a live voting system up, so you'll be able to vote for your combative riders as the race is undertaken. See Tom Smith coming in there. Dropping back now to 59th position. We've got Shrek there, battling with a group of bots. giving chase. Santos Trudy and Ray's there. Shrek not going to give in to those though. He's pushing on hard. Just getting notification in that Barry there, after that fantastic race, has just increased his FTP by another 5 watts. So he's having to don a little bit more weight next time around. So Shrek crosses the line there. And I think that's the last of the live riders. So all that's left for me to say is I hope you enjoyed the stream this evening. It's been another fantastic race put on by Will Usher and the PRT team. I've enjoyed watching and commentating on it. I hope you've enjoyed it too. If you did enjoy the stream, then please do like and subscribe. And we'll bring you more fantastic streams on the YouTube and Facebook as time goes by. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be here next week, 7 o'clock again, for the RGT PRT handicap race, and we hope to see you then.